What if I told you that everything you've been throwing away could become the most magical part of your garden? In this video, we're revealing 10 DIY fence ideas so unique, so beautiful, you'll never look at trash the same way again. Welcome to Backyard Fortune, where we turn waste into wonder. Whether you're dreaming of a charming cottage corner or a whimsical veggie fence, you're in the right place. Timestamps are included, so feel free to skip ahead, and don't forget to leave a comment if you have questions or ideas of your own. One, enchanted glass bottle garden fence. They say beauty grows from the ground, but sometimes it also rises from the recycling bin. What you see here isn't just a row of old bottles. It's sunlight captured in color, a curtain of glass that filters gold through green, cobalt, and amber. Each bottle, once forgotten, now stands proudly in the soil like a little tower of light. They've been turned upside down, half buried in perfect rhythm, guarding rows of strawberries and thyme like a string of tiny glass sentinels. And when the morning sun passes through them, the garden doesn't just glow, it shimmers. This, dear viewer, is an enchanted glass bottle garden fence. And yes, you can build it too. Start by gathering empty bottles, wine, soda, even olive oil. Choose colors you love. Wash them clean, remove labels, and begin your layout. You can bury them neck down like in this picture, or stand them tall for a more playful look. Don't worry about perfect symmetry. The magic lies in the variety, in the slight imperfections that remind us this fence was made with heart, not a factory mold. Look closer and you'll find life thriving around them. Sweet lavender dances in the breeze beside crimson strawberries that peek through green leaves. A child squats quietly nearby, hands gently harvesting berries still warm from the sun. Butterflies hover, unbothered. Everything is slow, peaceful, present. And what's most beautiful? This fence isn't just ornamental. It protects. It defines space. It feeds bees, birds, and people alike. And it does so without demanding concrete, plastic, or cost. Just glass, earth, and time. Want a softer look? Try mixing bottle heights. Want to attract more butterflies? Plant mint, basil, or lemon balm near the glass. The warmth will enhance their scent. The glass will sparkle like morning dew. This is more than a DIY trick, it's a quiet revolution. It proves that something once discarded can become the most beautiful part of your garden. That you don't need to buy new to create something extraordinary. So perhaps the next time you hold an empty bottle in your hand, you won't think of it as waste. You'll think of this fence. And of a garden where glass glows and food grows. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to build a little magic of your own. Two, rustic pallet fence for edible gardens. In a quiet garden nestled between the hills, an old wooden pallet finds new purpose. Once forgotten behind a warehouse or stacked by the roadside, this humble piece of timber now stands tall, not as waste, but as a living wall of abundance. Look closely and you'll see how it breathes life into the garden. Soft moss creeps along the grain. Tiny roots grip gently between the slats. And where there was once emptiness, now hang pots of strawberries, lettuce, basil, oregano, and wildflowers dancing in the breeze. This isn't a fence made to keep the world out. It's a fence that invites nature in. Some are painted with pastel tones, mint green, blush pink, wheat yellow. Others are left untouched, proudly showing the knots and imperfections that only time can carve. Each one holds something different. A pot of cherry tomatoes stretching toward the sun. A hanging crate of marigolds in bloom. A wooden box brimming with freshly pulled radishes resting at the base like a harvest gift. Children wander between the rows, picking lettuce and handing it to each other with giggles in their breath. The air smells like thyme and soil. Nothing here is rushed. Nothing here is wasted. And here's the secret. You don't need perfect tools or perfect skills. All you need is a vision. A few discarded palettes. Some screws, a touch of creativity, and the willingness to let your garden grow not just from the ground, but from the fence itself. You can start small. One palette. One pot. Add a few herbs you love to use. Let your fence evolve with the seasons. Maybe in spring, it's strawberries. In summer, tomatoes. By autumn, perhaps calendula and sage. What once held shipping crates now holds something far more valuable: nourishment, color, and joy. And so this fence, built from what others might throw away, becomes more than structure. It becomes a story, a statement, a sanctuary, one that speaks softly to anyone passing by. You don't have to buy beauty. You can grow it. Three, patchwork tin can fence for fairy herb gardens. There's something quietly magical about an herb garden. Not because of the fancy tools or the size of the land, but because of the scent of rosemary on your fingers, the soft fuzz of sage leaves at sunrise, and the way even the smallest corner of soil can become a sanctuary of flavor and fragrance. And sometimes, that sanctuary is built not from bricks or boards, but from tin cans. In this little corner of the world, the humble tin can has been reborn. Painted in dusty pastels and vintage hues, lavender, seafoam, soft blush, they now hang with grace from the fence, forming a playful patchwork of edible life. Others are lined up neatly along the base, their curved edges catching light, forming a gentle rhythm as if the fence itself were breathing. Inside these upcycled pots, basil and mint grow thick and proud. Rosemary stands tall, casting shadows across the pebbled path. Lavender blooms quietly, its purple crown nodding in the breeze. And somewhere nearby, bees hum, drawn to the scent and the color, unbothered by the fact that this beauty was once discarded packaging. You don't need a big budget to do this. Just a few empty cans, cleaned, painted, and given a second life. If you prefer a rustic touch, leave the labels on and let them weather in the sun. If you love color, try soft tones that echo the wildflowers in your area. Hooks, nails, or wire loops are all you need to hang them. The plants will do the rest. Some gardeners arrange the cans in circles, like a mosaic rising from the grass. Others line fences or create spiral towers. No design is wrong. In fact, the charm lies in its imperfection, in the way each can holds a slightly different shape, each flower grows at its own pace. The message here is simple: beauty isn't reserved for what's new. It isn't only found in symmetry or store-bought planters. Sometimes, beauty blooms from tin and soil, shaped by hands that care and a heart that dares to imagine. So if you've ever wondered what to do with those empty cans, let this be your sign. Turn them into a story. Turn them into a fence. Turn them into a garden where magic and mint grow side by side. Four, cottage-style bamboo fence with jute magic. Not every fence is meant to divide. Some are meant to hold life gently in their arms. In this garden, bamboo stands not as a wall, but as a rhythm. Uneven, handmade, and tied together with strands of weathered jute. It's not perfect. It was never meant to be. And yet, somehow, in its raw simplicity, it becomes the soul of the garden. Sweet peas climb softly, curling around the poles like fingers reaching for the sun. Morning glories bloom with quiet brilliance, purple and violet splashes against the green. The fence doesn't boast or beg for attention. It simply stands, and in standing, gives everything around it a place to grow. This is the kind of fence you imagine behind a small cottage with lace curtains and an old wooden table outside. A fence where time slows down. Where kale, parsley, and mint spill over the earth in joyful disarray. Where wildflowers grow not because someone planted them, but because the garden is kind enough to let them stay. The materials? Nothing fancy. Just reclaimed bamboo, often found discarded or forgotten, and some old rope, jute or twine, whatever your hands can tie. The technique is simple. No nails, no saws. Just the art of knotting. Let the structure curve and bend. Let it dance with the wind. You'll find that the plants don't mind the imperfections. In fact, they thrive in them. Nasturtiums burst through the cracks. Moss climbs one weathered pole like it's known it for years. The fence breathes. It changes. It ages. And in doing so, it becomes more than just support. It becomes memory. A thread between seasons. A place where life climbs and falls and climbs again. So next time you see broken bamboo or forgotten rope, don't walk past it. Imagine it instead, wrapped in wildflowers and cradling vines. Imagine a fence that holds not just plants, but peace. Because sometimes, the most magical gardens begin with what others leave behind. Five, clay brick and moss fence for old world gardens. Some fences feel like they've always been there, weathered by time, softened by nature, and woven gently into the memory of the land. These clay brick garden borders don't scream for attention. They don't try to impress. They simply belong. And perhaps that's their greatest beauty. Look closely. Every brick tells a story. Some are cracked. Others are laced with moss, wearing coats of green like they were never meant to be clean. The colors range from terracotta to earth-browned gold, each brick standing upright like books on a shelf of soil. But instead of words, they hold plants, chamomile whispering in the wind, creeping thyme spilling from cracks, and berries nestled low between leafy stems. What makes this garden fence feel so alive isn't perfection. It's texture. It's age. It's the way wild things grow where they are not told to. You can almost imagine a time when this border circled a medieval herb garden behind a stone monastery, or wound its way through a hillside farm in old Tuscany. And yes, you can build this. Old bricks are easy to find. From renovation sites, flea markets, or even a neighbor's forgotten pile behind the shed. Stand them vertically. Let them curve. Let the earth settle in. Between them, plant small herbs like thyme, oregano, or lemon balm. Encourage moss to spread by misting with water and adding a bit of shade. Over time, the bricks will shift slightly. That's part of the charm. They settle into place as if they were always meant to be there. Some gardeners leave gaps wide enough for strawberries to peek through. Others nestle chamomile so it spills softly along the path. And when sunlight hits just right, you'll see how the moss glows golden green, how shadows fall between bricks like pages waiting to be turned. This is not just a fence. It's a frame. For life. For growth. For quiet, unassuming magic. Because when you let nature and age work together, you don't just build a garden, you build a sense of place. Six, seashell driftwood fence for coastal gardens. There's something quietly enchanting about how the sea gives and takes, shaping forgotten wood into sculptural drift, softening hard shells into gentle pearlescence. And when hands inspired by wonder gather these ocean relics with care, even the humblest trash can be reborn into something sublime. Let's step into a place where the wind hums through seashells, rosemary brushes your ankles, and coastal charm is crafted from what others might overlook. Along a narrow sandy path, a rustic fence rises, not with precision, but with poetry. Each post of aged driftwood stands like a weathered story, its surface bleached silver by the sun and sea. Wound delicately between them, natural jute rope curves in soft rhythm, holding clusters of seashells that dangle like nature's own wind chimes. When the breeze comes in from the shoreline, it doesn't just stir the lavender and sage that grow at the base. It brings with it a whisper, a faint melodic clatter from those shells, like memories brushing against the air. This is not just decoration. It's restoration. It's transformation. The fence isn't tall, nor imposing. It doesn't need to be. Its presence is emotional, not functional. It draws a line not to keep things out, but to hold beauty in. Look closer, and you'll see tiny barnacles nestled between woven reeds, scallop shells catching the sun like ivory coins, and twisted branches forming graceful arches that sway just slightly, as if bowing to the sea beyond. There are no perfect edges here, and that is exactly the point. Nature rarely chooses symmetry, and yet it never looks out of place. It's a fence built for a fairytale herb garden by the coast, the kind you might stumble upon near an old fisherman's cottage in Portugal, or tucked behind a stone house with blue shutters along Brittany's rugged cliffs. Daisies bloom beside salt-tolerant rosemary, and flowering sage dances beside low purple kale. Even the birds above seem to glide slower here, as though pausing to admire the craft below. What makes this idea so magical, and so very doable, is its simplicity. Driftwood can often be found along beaches or riverbanks. Old shells collected from holidays past, or even those discarded from cooking, can be cleaned and repurposed. Jute rope, garden twine, a bit of patience, and a vision of softness, that's all it takes. For added music, string in small bells or metal lids, and let them catch the breeze. The goal isn't to replicate a catalog, it's to echo the spirit of coastal villages that let nature guide their gardens. This is where design meets soul. A place where trash no longer feels like waste, but like a whisper from the earth saying, I still have more to give. So next time you hold a cracked shell or stumble upon a crooked stick, ask yourself, what story could this become in your garden? Maybe it's not the material itself that matters, but the way you let it sing. Seven, tie a circle fence with berry clusters. In a quiet field where the breeze hums softly across rows of vegetables and laughter echoes from bare feet on the grass, something unexpected comes into view, circles of color resting gently on the earth, each one breathing new life into forgotten rubber. They are tires, once lifeless, now cradling herbs, berries, and dreams. One might call it a fence, others, a garden. But truly, it is a celebration of second chances, of play, of nature meeting imagination. Look closely at how each tire has been tenderly painted in pastel hues, mint, sky blue, soft cream, then arranged in looping rhythms like rings of protection around a secret grove. No longer rigid industrial cast-offs, these tires now feel as if they belong in a storybook, a place where strawberries blush under morning dew, and time releases its scent with every brush of wind. Children run nearby, their hands reaching toward chamomile blossoms, their feet brushing grass and soil. This garden doesn't shout. It sings gently, with harmony in every detail, from the crawling vines spilling through circular frames to the tiny bursts of wildflowers peeking out between the rubber. It feels alive, yet calm. Carefully tended, yet effortlessly joyful. The beauty lies not just in what you see, but in how this space was made, with intention, with resourcefulness, and most of all, with heart. Every painted pattern speaks of hands that believed even old tires deserved a chance to bloom. Every berry cluster reminds us that food can grow anywhere, even in the echoes of what we used to throw away. If you wish to make your own version of this fairytale fence, the path is simpler than it appears. Salvage tires from your neighborhood or local garage. Clean them, paint them with colors that lift your spirit, soft pastels or perhaps florals to mimic old folk art. Set them into the soil either vertically to form a playful boundary or horizontally as raised planters. Fill each one with rich compost and seeds that excite you: strawberries, thyme, leafy lettuce, chamomile. Add climbing vines like sweet peas or morning glory for softness. Over time, your fence will grow more alive, more enchanted. And perhaps, like in these scenes, the children from nearby homes will find their way in, drawn not just by the berries, but by the magic of a space made with love from what others left behind. So next time you see a pile of worn-out tires, look again. You might just be staring at the beginnings of a paradise. Not grand, but gentle. Not expensive, but rich in wonder. Because in gardens like these, trash doesn't just become treasure. It becomes part of the story. Eight. Whimsical luggage fence for edible vines. Once upon a quiet morning in the countryside, where the mist still clings to the wooden fences and bees hum softly beneath the leaves, something unexpected happens. Amid the grays and greens of a typical backyard, a parade of old suitcases bursts into life, not with passports and postcards, but with vines, herbs, and tiny edible treasures. These aren't just planters. They're old companions of forgotten travels, weathered leather cases that once journeyed through train stations and cobbled lanes. Now, they've found a second purpose: to nurture new life along a garden fence. You can almost hear their zippers whispering stories of the past, while vines of cherry tomatoes and creeping cucumbers spill out with gentle confidence, as if nature itself chose these vessels to carry on a more rooted adventure. Each suitcase is mounted with care onto wooden slats or rustic wire fencing, some wide open to showcase floral fabric linings, others firmly shut but brimming with promise. And in their place, the garden transforms. There's a poetic contrast in play, the structured frame of a suitcase meeting the wild, organic growth of tomato stems, mint leaves pushing from broken seams, and tiny pumpkins hanging like memories on a string. What's magical here is the balance, between nostalgia and renewal, between whimsy and purpose. And it's not just about beauty. This idea is practical, too. Suitcases provide built-in depth for soil and root space. Their frames support vines and trailing plants. Their portability allows for flexibility in garden layout, especially in small or vertical spaces. If you're tempted to try this yourself, and you should, look for luggage with hard sides and sturdy hinges. Drill a few drainage holes in the bottom. Fill them with quality soil, compost, and your favorite edibles. Secure them to a fence using hooks or brackets strong enough to bear the weight of damp earth. Then let nature take over. Add trailing herbs like mint, oregano, or thyme for scent and softness. Tuck in bush tomatoes for that instant burst of red and gold. Let peas climb upward like they're searching for new destinations. You might even slip in a few marigolds or nasturtiums for a pop of color and pest control. And when it rains, when the garden is quiet and the world slows down, these old cases will sit there, silent, soulful, and blooming. A line of travelers who once carried human stories, now cradling nature's. So next time you see a forgotten suitcase at a flea market or hiding in your attic, don't toss it. Instead, turn it into something rooted, something edible, something magical. Because in the end, the best journeys don't always move, they grow. Nine. Woven rattan bottle fence with fairy touch. In a quiet corner of a garden kissed by golden light, something remarkable emerges, not from a catalogue, but from the careful hands of someone who saw magic in forgotten things. A fence, not made of concrete, nor steel, but of old rattan, gently woven like a lullaby from the earth itself. It doesn't scream for attention. It invites you in, soft, organic, curving with the rhythm of the land. Between each bend of the hand-woven rattan, recycled glass bottles hang like charms on a thread of memory. Some catch the sunlight like liquid lanterns. Others cradle snippets of fresh mint or wild thyme, their roots trailing in clear water, glistening like dew. This isn't just a garden boundary, it's a storybook wall. A whisper of forgotten folklore. A tiny portal where the ordinary becomes enchanting. Look closely. The glass bottles are of all kinds, clear, amber, green. Once discarded, now reborn as guardians of tiny gardens and wild bouquets. Some are wrapped in jute twine, adding texture and grounding the transparency with rustic charm. Others are left bare to let the light dance through. And the plants? They are not ornamental for the sake of beauty alone. They're useful. Fragrant herbs you can pluck and brew. Edible flowers that call to bees. Nasturtiums, peas, strawberries curling at the base. It's a feast for the eyes and the kitchen, designed for both wonder and nourishment. This design teaches us a gentle truth, that the things we often discard are not without worth. With just a bit of vision and care, you can give trash a second life as treasure, functional, edible, magical. Here's a little tip if you're inspired to try. You don't need a professional's hand. Start with any old basket material, even flexible branches or repurposed bamboo strips. Gather some glass bottles, anything from soda to wine. Clean them well. Use twine, copper wire, or even sturdy vines to secure them to your fence. Add a little water, and tuck in a clipping of mint, lavender, or any herb that grows well in your zone. Over time, the bottles will host new life, and your fence will change with the seasons. The beauty of this concept isn't perfection. It's presence. It feels like a place where forest spirits might pause, where children might whisper secrets through the leaves, where the world slows for just a moment, and says, yes, this too can be beautiful. So next time you walk past a pile of so-called waste, pause. Hold that glass bottle in your hand and ask, what could you become if someone simply believed in you again? That's what this fence is. A quiet belief that nature, imagination, and sustainability can coexist in poetry. And perhaps, in this wild and hurried world, that's exactly the kind of garden we need. Ten. rustic burlap crate fence for farm gardens. There's something deeply soothing about a garden built not with money, but with memory, crafted from things once forgotten, now reborn into beauty. In this quiet corner of the earth, a simple fence made of old wooden crates and weathered burlap becomes more than just a boundary. It becomes a breath of life. Each crate, with its gentle imperfections, tells a different story. Some stand tall and proud, others lie nestled into the earth, offering shelter to shy mint leaves or creeping melon vines. The burlap, softly frayed and swaying in the afternoon breeze, gives a tender shade to baby greens and blooms. It is not just fabric, it is a curtain between wildness and nurture, filtering sunlight like a sheer veil drawn across time. The garden grows as if it knows it is loved. Sunflowers stretch their necks toward the golden light, some upright in youthful confidence, others bowed in elder grace. Between them, lettuces curl like lace doilies, green and crisp. In the shadows of the crates, spearmint rustles and the orange tops of carrots peek out like secrets ready to be discovered. One edge of the garden is built like a soft fort, square crates stacked along the perimeter, sturdy yet welcoming. They form alcoves where herbs flourish and pumpkins swell, glowing in their vibrant hues. Even the smallest spaces are used, each hollow filled with a pot, a sprout, a promise. Elsewhere, a long bench-like platform stretches across rich soil, its burlap apron hiding a hidden world of roots and magic. Black crates sit atop it, filled with tumbling vines that spill over the sides as if too full of life to be contained. Sunflowers hang upside down like golden lanterns, and underneath, rows of carrots line up neatly like nature's little soldiers. And then, there's the feeling. The kind you can't quite name, but know. It's in the smell of warm soil and burlap under sun. In the gentle buzz of bees as they dance from bloom to bloom. In the way even weeds seem welcome here, embraced rather than erased. This isn't just a fence. It's an invitation to rethink what beauty means in a garden. To see value in what others toss away. To create something deeply yours with nothing but time, tenderness, and a few forgotten things. So if you've got an old crate, a torn sack, a patch of soil, and a little hope, build your own magic. You don't need blueprints. Just let it grow, wild and lovely, like all good things do. If you found even one idea that sparked your imagination, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who'd love it too. Subscribe for more creative ways to transform your garden with meaning, beauty, and a little bit of magic. Thanks for watching, and remember, the most beautiful gardens don't start with money, they start with imagination.